Happy Thursday, San Antonio. Today is definitely going to be a warm one for most of us. Take a look at our peak temperatures. Most of us getting into those 90s, mid to upper 90s, as long as you're in the San Antonio metro. As you get to the hill country, a little cooler in those low 90s, but it's going to feel like we're near triple digits, if not above triple digit heat today. But it is Thursday, so the latest drought monitor is in, and we've definitely seen some improvements.
KSAT 12. The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
We begin with the deadly crash that brought traffic to a complete standstill. It all began with the stolen car.
We now know multiple people are dead, even more people in the hospital this evening. This all happening right now along I-35 near Casson Road. It's on the city's southwest side near the Loop 410 interchange. And that is where we find our Avery Everett, who joins us now live.
Avery, how did this whole thing play out, and has the traffic situation got any better out there?
Well, Steve, Myra, both lanes of I-35 southbound are still blocked as police investigate what happened and how two people here were killed. We can see behind me still that both the bus and the trailer that were hit are still here, and police are actively looking around that area. And then if you take a look to the left, you can see what appears to be the white stolen Camaro police have focused their investigation on. So hopefully you can take a look at this video that we shot earlier today, about 2 hours ago when we got here. We weren't able to ask questions directly to the San Antonio Police Chief, William McManus, but he posted a video explaining the information that police know so far. So he said a stolen white Camaro was speeding south on I-35 when it crashed into this small transport bus and trailer. Now we know 2 older adults died here, and we know of at least 18 other people that were taken to the hospital with injuries. Some had minor injuries, but about 8 people had life-threatening injuries. We know 4 suspects were inside that car, and we know at least one of them was armed. So Steve, Myra, we've been out here for over the last 2 hours. The northbound lanes of I-35 here near Casson are open, but we're told that the southbound lanes, like you can see right behind me, are going to be closed for several hours. As we continue to learn more about the people that passed here, we'll keep you updated. One other thing I wanted to show you, look at just the line of police vehicles. Matt, if you can zoom in there, just how far this investigation has stretched. We can see at least one other truck that police were taking pictures of, but we don't know how many vehicles in total were impacted. So as we learn more, as we learn more from the police department and the San Antonio Fire Department, we'll keep you updated. Steve, Myra, I'll send it back to you.
And I got to tell you, we've not seen a better response in the state of Texas. The response by local officials was extraordinary.
That was Governor Greg Abbott today talking about the response to flooding by local officials in San Angelo.
Governor Abbott also says 135 people across the state of Texas have now perished from flooding. Kerr County says they have confirmed 107 victims. In Kendall County, 9 people have been recovered. A lot of the discussion surrounding the aftermath of the floods were about warning sirens and whether or not there were enough alert systems in place. Well, if you were in Comal County today, you may have heard sirens.
Those are warning sirens along the Guadalupe River there to let people know in the area about any immediate danger. Now, today they were just being tested. Comal County has had these sirens for 10 years.
Sarah Acosta in Comal County. She spoke with emergency management officials who are convinced these sirens save lives.
We are on the Guadalupe River along River Road right at the Rock and R. And right behind me is that first siren out of 9 placed along the river throughout Comal County. Emergency management crews spent the day individually testing each one of these sirens to make sure they work because they say they save lives.
Face it, we live in Flash Flood Alley, and we know that, and the system that was here before was a good system. It just reached the end of its life.
It's why Comal County spent $1.9 million on updating the antiquated system over the past year. There are 9 warning sirens in place along the Guadalupe River, some at low and high river crossings, some in heavily populated areas. By the end of the year, there'll be 10 in place. Jeff Kelly with Comal County Emergency Management says the testing will happen every couple of weeks and eventually monthly to ensure they are all working.
It's incredibly important. It's crucial I believe that over the life of the old siren system and into this new siren system that they have already been responsible for saving lives.
One of the reasons they need to be tested, they can be damaged during big flooding events, like the one here at Rebecca Creek, where a tree tore off its sensor after the water reached 5 feet above the bridge, but the siren still works. Rivergoers say sirens are more reliable than cell phone notifications, saying they were camping along the lake in San Angelo 4th of July weekend.
I got the notification on my phone that we were in a flood watch, and I completely disregarded it. And had it been, another 100 miles down the road or less than that, I want to say, in Kerrville, we would have been just the same. We would have
played out very differently.
They don't mind hearing the testing while enjoying the river today, because they say safety is priority.
1000% to have the sirens, because it's just like what unfortunately happened. You can't hear the water when it's rising. You're not going to know.
You don't know there's a 26-foot wall coming your way without that siren or without the notifications on our phone. So for that, we're grateful.
Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
You might call this a favor returned. Firefighters out helping their Hill Country community during the floods ended up needing help themselves.
Yeah, and now that same community has come through. Katrina Weber shows us how people help those Center Point fire crews get their firehouse in order.
They put down their hoses to pick up squeegees and anything else that would usher out a muddy mess. Center Point volunteer firefighters had to work hard July 4th after an already grueling day.
I came driving down the street and it was flooded, and I came around and I saw our station and everything floating out, and it was just like...
Razor Dobbs was floored by what he saw within and up the walls, a mountain of mud.
This had about this much mud.
He gave us a tour that day, flood damage everywhere.
Trailers and gear was all piled up in here.
What wasn't inside anymore was their firefighting gear. It was swept away as the crews were out saving people from the swift-moving water. That included the rescue of a woman clinging to a tree.
Our station was completely upside down, but the community came in and cleaned it up.
That cleanup also came as a surprise, a pleasant one, as they continued working around the clock.
And our water was back on. Our electricity was restored, all of that, and that was all citizens.
Nearly 2 weeks later, there's a world of difference. The once muddy space is now a command post full of supplies and people. They also replaced their gear by way of donations. While they have begun to get their house in order, there are still some things that need to be replaced. For example, that is a vital piece of equipment. It was damaged, and they used it to fill their air tanks. Still, Dobbs says they are breathing easier now. With their firehouse restored, they can relax mentally as they continue helping others. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Take a look at TransGuide right now. Let's go back to I-35 south at Somerset Road. Not far from that accident. You can see the cleanup continues. The investigation continues there on the main lanes of I-35. Access road, very slow going out here as they continue to clean up and try and get some answers as to what caused this. No emotion for McCain for much of this trial. Oh, this is a live picture right there. You see McCain with an elbow to the bailiff.
That video you just saw was shot by KSAT cameras back in 2021. It aired live during our newscast. It captured this man, Otis McCain, attacking a bailiff in court after hearing his guilty verdict. He was convicted for shooting San Antonio Police Detective Benjamin Marconi twice in the head as he sat in his patrol car outside of police headquarters on November 20th of 2016. Well, today McCain returned to that same Bexar County courtroom for what could be the beginning of a very long appeals process. McCain and his defense attorneys believe he didn't get a fair trial. They want him taken off of death row. Attorney Sarah Brandon says that during his trial, the state presented false evidence and his attorneys didn't do their job.
Mr. McCain's trial team had a legal and ethical obligation to undertake as full investigation as possible into their client's life. They did not.
Prosecutors believe McCain carried out a planned ambush, and jurors only deliberated for 25 minutes before delivering a guilty verdict. McCain's appeal hearing is expected to continue tomorrow.
And more than a year after voting to terminate him, Kirby rehired Brian Rowland to serve as city manager. That split decision happened last night during a council meeting. Back in February, KSAT Investigates learned the city hired Roland as an interim, even though the city terminated him in 2023. The council ended Roland's initial 4-month tenure after employee complaints led to an investigation. Records show at least 20 people applied to be Kirby's new city manager. They didn't get it. Roland did. He told KSAT Investigates he is the best person for the job.
This weekend, a Uvalde nonprofit will make its first big contribution to the community. Gloves for Tess was founded by the family of Robb Elementary shooting victim Tess Mata. It's their way of spreading her love of softball. Tess would have turned 13 this year, so they're donating 13 gloves to players in Uvalde. The donation was made possible by a grant from the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation.
It made a difference in my life when I needed, I needed a job. And he gave me one, and it was more than a job. Working for him was really a pleasure. You're going to be missed, Ron.
He's gone. His legacy is not. Friends and family gathering today to remember the man who touched so many lives. We're talking about Las Palapas founder Ron Acosta, who was killed in his home earlier this month. A celebration of life ceremony held this morning at Cornerstone Church. The service included a sermon as well as video and musical tributes to Ron Acosta. You may remember Acosta murdered in his San Antonio home on July 1st. San Antonio police say he was stabbed by his nephew, 39-year-old David Ruiz. Ruiz arrested and charged with murder.
A lot of times a traumatic event like the deadly hill country flooding can make us feel a sense of added stress in our lives. So what's the best way to handle that? That's next on the News at 6. The images and sounds after a terrible tragedy can traumatize all of us. In fact, the first 30 days after a crisis is when stress most affects people's bodies, whether you're in the disaster zone or not.
Courtney Friedman talked to a counselor who's been out in the hill country since the day of the floods, who's educating people about the signs of acute stress and what to do about it.
Repeated images of unimaginable tragedy in the Texas Hill Country, and our brains and bodies are reacting.
I'll brief people on maybe acute stress symptoms. So acute meaning it just happened within the 30 days of it.
Professional counselor Kelly Harris has been in the Hill Country helping families, first responders, and the general public since Friday the 4th.
Are you from here?
It's something she's done before after deadly shootings in Sutherland Springs and Uvalde, and she's seeing the same community reactions now.
A lot of times people have shame, guilt, and blame. I call them the triplets, right? And we may think of, what could I have done? Could I have done something different? So we'll come in and talk about how that's normal and how to reframe and to flip those.
Agencies are calling her in to train staff on how to spot acute stress in their coworkers, friends, and loved ones, even if they're not directly connected to the floods.
They may have a deer in the headlights look. They may have the eye twitching. They may have their heart racing. They may be sweating and not realizing it. They may not be sleeping well. They may be starting to avoid and stay inside.
Harris says dreaming about traumatic events and feeling overly stimulated is common too. If you're noticing these things in yourself or someone else, especially after 30 days since the traumatic event, Harris says it's a good idea to find a counselor.
There are lots of clinicians and therapists that are in this area, and they are here for you.
Harris has worked with the Ecumenical Center for a decade and says the free services have healed communities, and she hopes people struggling will reach out. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
Our Together for Texas donation campaign still going on. So far, we've raised more than $920,000, closing in on $1 million.
We're going to get there.
All the money going to those impacted by the deadly hill country flooding through the Salvation Army.
And we do want to let you know about the Together for Texas benefit concert that is happening August 18th at the Tobin Center for Performing Arts. You'll be able to watch it on KSAT 12 and all of our streaming platforms. The performers, you see them listed here. They will all be featured in this event, and everything, the money raised will go directly to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund. We have ticket information posted for you on our website, ksat.com.
So many ways to help out. All right, meanwhile, the weather helping out. I haven't had the rains that we've seen over the last few weeks, Adam.
Tragic rains really have impacted the drought situation now, and they've really made a big difference. And I want to go back 2 months ago, and you see the big exceptional drought area across South and Central Texas, outlined in white. And then you go to today, the new drought monitor updated earlier this morning. Now it's just Medina County where we have the exceptional drought, and then the extreme drought spreads into San Antonio. So that's the latest on the drought situation. About 22% of Texas considered in drought at this time. Rain chances going forward, 10 to 20% chance Friday into Saturday. I mean, we're talking a brief isolated shower, and that's about it, especially for our eastern counties. So you look at the visible satellite imagery, and of course the white being the clouds, and we're getting a few clouds thrown our way from that Gulf energy, that upper level energy we've been talking about. It's not a tropical system. This is just your standard upper level system with some deep moisture because it's over the Gulf. Now, the rain showers today have been in Louisiana, but some clouds are being thrown our way, and really that could make for a nice sunset this evening in spots, and even tomorrow morning could be a nice sunrise because of some of those mid and high clouds being thrown our way. Weak upper energy, some of that rain-making energy is being funneled into southeastern Texas. Really, the rain with this system is going to be the coast of Louisiana, Beaumont, Port Arthur, Houston, Galveston, and then maybe one or two could make it into our eastern counties, being Gonzales, Lavaca, DeWitt, Victoria. Can't rule out again the brief stray shower tomorrow, particularly midday afternoon, and then even on into Saturday morning. Some of that rain-making energy is going to linger, but keep in mind, most of the rain that it makes is going to be in and around the Houston area. 98. That was our high temperature today. That's 3 degrees above average. The record high, just to show you the potential for the day, was 105 back in 1932. And temperatures right now, we're in the 90s. 99 Stinson Airport's right near 100 in spots, but 92 Bulverde, 92 Canyon Lake. Fairly typical July temperatures at the moment. Hondo at 95 degrees, but we're going to be flirting with triple digits in the days ahead. 97 at the airport right now, so down 1 degree from our high, and by 10 o'clock we're down to 84, midnight 80 degrees, the typical gradual temperature drop that we see this time of year. And then tomorrow we start the day in the mid 70s, by noon upper 80s, 95 for the high. So trimming back just a couple of degrees, but I don't think you'll really feel the difference. A few degrees here and there, you don't typically feel much. And then that 10 to 20% chance of a shower or two tomorrow afternoon into the evening. Notice Rock Springs tomorrow. 88 the high, Kerrville 91, 93 New Braunfels. But then in the typically hotter spots, Cotulla, Carrizo Springs, Dilley, at the triple digit mark, Crystal City as well. Cotulla even 101, down in Laredo 102. Now looking at the forecast going forward, it's a lot more July-like, what we're accustomed to in July. Sunny, dry, noticeable humidity, low morning clouds, then nothing but sunshine for most of the daylight hours, and highs getting close to triple digits. Our last triple digit day was back in early May, and we've had 3 so far. We could get 1 or 2 next week.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
All right, I love the stories of San Antonio boxers that make it big. And there are 3 such boxers about to fight.
Yes, it's fight week. Several area boxers getting in the ring this weekend, including Manny Pacquiao's return for a world title fight against Mario Barrios. And the Spurs are chasing Summer League glory, still undefeated in Vegas and looking to keep it that way after the break. Saturday night in Las Vegas, it'll be San Antonio's Mario Barrios versus legendary boxer Manny Pacquiao. El Azteca and Pac-Man have addressed the media for the final time at the MGM Grand. Pacquiao was all smiles, no surprise, but Barrios, on the other hand, is tired of answering all the questions that have come with this high-profile fight, and he's ready to get in the ring. Sports producer Daniel Villanueva went one-on-one with Barrios. Here's part of their conversation.
I always fight, I always train as if, it's my biggest fight to date. It doesn't feel anything new, especially at this point in my career. I've been at this level for a while now, and when I look at him, I just see, another opponent, another fighter. I can't really have that mentality that like, oh, he's a legend or he's this or that. But no, I mean, he's a super nice guy. He's very likable. Everything, it's all smiles and it's all, it's all respectful. But I know, come fight night, all that's gonna go out of the window.
Is there anything from your fight when you fought Keith Thurman in particular, because Pac-Man's fought him too? Is there anything from that fight you think you can take away from your matchup with Pacquiao?
There's a lot of things that, from watching the fight, with Ugas, because Ugas is another opponent both of us have fought. There's a lot of things that I can take away from both of those fights that we have looked at, just to pick up on like little habits and like mistakes or habits that that Pacquiao he makes and reacts off of. So both of those fights have been fights that we have been looking at throughout camp.
That full interview is on KSAT.com, and Barrios isn't the only one fighting Saturday night. San Antonio's Jesse Bam Rodriguez is facing Pumamela Cafu in a world title fight on DAZN up in Frisco. And local boxer Gabriela Tellez has a fight the night before, tomorrow night, and that'll get you ready for a big weekend of action. The DAZN fights, you need a subscription to watch, but Barrios' fight is pay-per-view on Amazon Prime. Well, the Spurs have shut down Dylan Harper for the rest of Summer League. They're pleased with what they've seen from the #2 pick, and now San Antonio wants the rookie to stay healthy and focus on preparing for fall camp. Meanwhile, the Spurs are one of 8 teams still undefeated in Las Vegas Summer League action. The Silver and Black have a plus 16.6 point differential, and they're 3-0, eyeing that Summer League championship.
Feeling good. Hopefully we can take advantage of this luck today. We live to see another day. We know we're going into that Charlotte game. I believe they beat Dallas, so I think we're both 3-0, and the winner of that game probably makes the Final Four. So we are very excited.
Very excited indeed. Here's a live scoring update in Vegas. The Spurs have an 18-15 lead early in the game against the Hornets. We'll have the highlights on the night. Be expecting more magic from David Jones Garcia in this one.
And maybe Riley Middix again.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Thanks, Mary. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk about the special session and flood legislation and whether the session's even going to take place.
Plus, floodwaters are a powerful force, but just how powerful is the force of a flood? We'll show you what the science says coming up in our next half hour.
We're just a few days away from the start of a Texas special session that was scheduled before the flooding in Kerr County, but some of the legislation around that flood was added after July 4th. Scott Braddock with the Courtroom Report joins us now live. Always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Great to see y'all.
Thanks for being here. We know that what happened in Kerr County is going to be such a focus. So as far as that goes, what are we expecting lawmakers to address during this special session?
The governor wants the legislators to take a look at things that could be done before and after floods. And there was a piece of legislation that failed during the regular session. It passed the Texas House, but not the Texas Senate. Of course, it has to pass both to even get to the governor. And it had to do with interoperability of these local governments to be able to work together and get state resources to the places that they need to go whenever there is some disaster like this. And so it's something that I would expect there'll be plenty of appetite, for the lawmakers to address it. We do expect that there will be a hearing out in Kerrville, a field hearing, and Lieutenant Governor Patrick made it clear that he wanted to make it as accessible as possible for those people who were affected. So lawmakers will go to them instead of those people having to come to the Capitol. But of course, that's if there is a special session at all come Monday.
And that's what I want to talk about next. There could not be, Democrats could not show up. They could not have a quorum.
Well, this is an existential fight at the national level. We're always right in the middle of everything in Texas, right? And this is a situation where you have Democrats who, and we broke the story on this earlier in the week at quorumreport.com, Texas House Democrats, state lawmakers, heard from some of the top people in their party nationally on Monday night. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke to them, along with the DNC chair, Ken Martin, former Attorney General Eric Holder, telling these lawmakers that they need to basically stand in the gap and not allow President Trump to come in and, as they put it, steal more Republican seats in Congress. And you want everybody's eyes to glaze over real fast. I'll start talking redistricting and the nuances of all of that. But what it really is this speaks to the concern on the part of President Trump that he believes that if Democrats take the majority in the U.S. House in the elections next year, that Trump and the people around him believe that he'll be impeached again by the U.S. House, and that the last 2 years of his presidency nationally will be basically over with, that there will be lots of investigations by the Democrats when they take the gavels in the U.S. House if they win. And this is something that I think could play out in a nastier way than any of us are even expecting. There was a mid-decade redistricting back in 2003, and that was spurred by then U.S. House Majority Leader Tom DeLay. He was telling people, you got to win one for President Bush. This is President Trump getting involved directly and telling Republicans from Texas to basically save his presidency for the last half of his second term.
Well, and I remember in 2003, Governor Perry at the time, there were a lot of San Antonio Democrats who left the state. Is that a replay of that? Is that what could happen? Do they have to actually leave the state or just, make themselves unavailable?
Quite possible, and it has to do with the fact that the Texas House Speaker is empowered to have law enforcement go after legislators if they aren't in Austin when a session is happening. This is the cracking down on the quorum breakers. You also remember that in 2021, same thing happened. Democrats went to Washington, D.C. to protest and to try to stop a big elections bill that was being debated at the time. It had to do with rooting out election fraud as Republicans see it, and basically denying people the right to vote as Democrats see it. It's one of those existential fights. But in this, I think there's the possibility that national Democrats will really put some money into this, because this has to do with their jobs and their power in Washington. And if you have all of the Texas House Democrats, it's more than 60 people, if they have to stay outside the state and they have to pay a fine of up to $15,000 per month each for each of them, that could be an effort that could cost as much as $4.5 or $5 million, something like that. But there are national Democratic donors who are maybe willing to step up and sustain an effort on that. And Democrats would have to stay out of the state to prevent new maps. They'd have to be gone as long as about 90 days, because, of course, the governor can always call another special session if he doesn't get what he wants this time.
So we'll see who shows up. Obviously, that's the bottom line right now. But even, as Steve mentioned, even before the flooding in Kerrville, in Kerr County, this was a special session that was on the books, largely to address the THC issue. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick really wanted this to pass. Governor vetoed it, so they decided we're going to have the special session to talk about regulation. What does that issue look like?
One of the few fights we've ever seen between the lieutenant governor and the governor. Usually they're in lockstep, but as you said, the lieutenant governor wants a full ban of THC products, and the governor wants something that looks more like a regulatory scheme like what we have for alcohol. Basically regulate it that way and make sure that people, kids who are under 21 can't get it. They're still going to be in a standoff about that, and I'm not sure exactly what's going to end up, with that. Number one, we may not have a session at all, as we were talking about. Number two, I would think that the governor would eventually potentially win on this, except for this. The governor has put so many items on the agenda that he's once again created leverage for the lieutenant governor. Let's say some of the flooding stuff isn't passing. The lieutenant governor could hold that up while the governor wants to see it happen, and the lieutenant governor could say, hey, if we do my version of THC legislation, then you can have the flooding stuff. That's the kind of stuff that happens in the background. He wouldn't really come out and announce that, but it's the kind of thing that we watch for closely at the Capitol.
All right, so you've been talking to people on both sides in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Give me odds on if we're going to actually have a session. Will everybody show up on Monday?
This is a tough one to call. I think that on Monday the legislators will probably be there to gavel in, but there is some debate about, and this is key, there is some debate about whether the $15,000 fine per lawmaker to be away for a month, whether it even kicks in if they don't have a quorum in the first place. You follow me on that?
Yep.
So if they're not there on Monday, that would be why.
Interesting.
Okay.
Scott Braddock with the quorum report. That's why we have you on.
We'll see what happens Monday.
You just lay the odds out for us.
We'll try to figure it all out before then.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Scott. Well, with flooding coming up, and it's certainly been something that's been on our minds for the last week, we want to take a deeper dive to learn how much force floodwaters bring. Justin Horn breaks that question down with the data and the science after the break.
It is a battle you'll almost always lose. We often forget how strong floodwaters can truly be.
But how strong are we talking? Our Justin Horn takes a look at the numbers to find out how powerful water truly is.
How I recall it is the roof fell, hit me in the head, and then I'm not sure if it knocked me out for a little bit, but just next thing I know, the house is gone.
I could see right over the roof of my cousin's house, which is at the base of the hill, and all I saw was water, moving at just unbelievable speed.
It was like if you were standing underneath a waterfall
and it's just going straight over. You couldn't see anything.
Survivors of the floods try to describe the forces at play, but it's tough. Water itself weighs more than people realize.
Just a gallon of water is about 8 pounds. A cubic foot of water, which is really about the size of a large beach ball, that's over 60 pounds right there.
That's 1 cubic foot. Now, in the case of Kirk County, imagine a 30-foot torrent of water.
It's around 10 million pounds per second of water moving through. That's like 10 fully loaded 747s. It's just unbelievable amounts of weight moving fast downstream.
Estimates had the water moving down the river somewhere between 10 to 12 miles per hour, aided by gravity. We know through math equations that only 1 foot of water can move a car, providing some 500 pounds of force.
That's like a routine tackle from an NFL linebacker, all right? It just takes about 6 inches of water to sweep a person's feet out from under them, because that really is, it's like a person running at full speed, hitting you right in the ankles.
Amazingly, through feats of strength, some survivors, after being swept into the floodwaters, were able to grasp onto trees.
You'd probably be moving around 10 miles per hour. That's like a hard run, right? And if people aren't familiar, I say, go to the gym, hop on a treadmill, set it to 10 and see what that feels like. And then imagine trying to jump and grab a tree branch while you're moving at that speed.
On top of everything else, there's massive amounts of debris in the water too. All of that debris from structures that were not only destroyed by lateral force, but also what's called buoyant force.
It's really about 1,500 pounds of upward force for every foot of water. So you get things get lifted and they get pushed.
And the end result is damage that most of us won't see again in our lifetime.
You get to a certain point, you're looking at forces that are similar to getting hit by a car or a tornado. And really some of the damage that we saw after the fact, it does look similar to that type of event.
A sobering sight created by an unimaginable power. Justin Horn, KSAT 12 News.
And Myra, you and I have both been there.
Yeah.
When you see huge cedar trees just snapped or twisted,
uprooted,
peeled apart like bananas,
Look like
uprooted.
Yeah, that has been flat. It's amazing. You cannot underestimate water. We're going to talk about the full forecast right after the break. All right, out there today, we finally, for a second day in a row, had some sunshine, another chance to just kind of dry things out, Adam.
Yeah, no flood warnings, no flood watches, none of that. Just some dry days. There's going to be a lot of dry days going forward. A little more typical for this time of year, especially as we get into next week with temperatures nearing 100. Now, I want to show you our camera shot outside. You can see downtown a little bit better today than yesterday because a lot of that Saharan dust is moved northward. Still a trace amount overhead. I do want to give you an update on this, that it's not really going to be that noticeable for several days, but once we get into about Monday afternoon and evening, then we could notice a little extra haze in the sky because of some light amounts of dust, mainly just better sunrises and sunsets. But you see the real thick dust. I mean, look how dark brown that is, right? Indicating the real dense, thick dust compared to what we would have here. And remember, this isn't dust here at the ground. It's suspended way up in the air. So you're not going to have any impacts from that dust. Just a little extra haze again as we get into Monday. Let's talk rain chances. 10 to 20% chance late Friday on into Saturday morning. Highly isolated and mainly east of San Antonio. You can even see the thickest clouds are farther to the east and closest to Houston, but the upper energy that we've been talking about for a few days over the Gulf, throwing some of those clouds our way, could make for a nice sunset in some places this evening and a nice sunrise tomorrow morning in spots. Either way, notice the rain has been in Louisiana today, and this upper energy is slowly working its way into East Texas, and we'll get some of it around here, just very minimal impacts overall. Notice most of the rain tomorrow, parts of Louisiana coast, on into East and Southeast Texas. I mean, we're talking Beaumont, Port Arthur, Houston, Galveston area, and really having a hard time making its way closer to San Antonio. Now, some of our eastern counties, Gonzales, Lavaca, DeWitt, even Victoria, could have a few brief showers. That's that 10 to 20% chance tomorrow afternoon and even on into Saturday morning. 98. Our high temperature today, that's 3 degrees above average. And you look at the high temperatures so far this month, and the blue days indicating below average, the gray within a degree or two of average. And we've been near to even below average for the most part for our high temperatures this month. That's going to change a little bit next week as we get right up near that century mark. 97 right now, 84 at 10 o'clock, but midnight we're down to 80. And then tomorrow morning, start of the day to mid-70s, mid-90s in the afternoon. We'll trim off just a few degrees compared to today because of a little extra cloud cover. I think that upper energy will actually give us a little more variety of clouds in the sky, which I love layered clouds. You know me, I love the layered clouds and the variety of clouds. So I look forward to stuff like this. 94 in Hondo, 92 tomorrow in Bulverde, Converse about 94. Next week, nothing but sun. July is Julying. As we would say, nothing but sun, upper 90s, right near 100. So Myra, you and I were here last week talking about, like everybody wants to help in some way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I can do with thermometers. Still don't know, but I'm starting to get some ideas. You see the green ribbons that we have been hanging outside KSAT and other folks are hanging around. It finally dawned on me to use green alcohol in the thermometers for a while, just as a way to remember the victims and the situation. So it's starting to come together. I trust something more will come of this, but that's my newest, basically, way of, honoring the victims and, even the first responders, everything.
I like that idea.
We have the green ribbons. So that's what I'm starting with here going forward. We've been wearing them on our lapels and whatnot. I was like, wait a minute. That's a good way to start. So that's where we're starting going forward.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it evolves.
Yeah, I'm going to get back at it. Hopefully have one to give away next week. KSAT.com/thermometer to enter the drawing.
By the way, the people at Kreider's Rodeo, they want a thermometer.
Oh, why didn't you
told me they want a thermometer. I'm telling them.
Well,
I'm just there.
Okay, that's true. Sorry. Okay.
Live on TV.
We had a lot going on.
Yeah, no pressure.
No, make it a green one, too. That'll be cool with the ribbon on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Love it.
That'd be awesome.
All right.
All right, thanks, Adam.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we are. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on ABC's Prime Time. At 7, Celebrity Family Feud. At 8, Pressure Luck. Followed by the Night Beat at 10. I mean, they've only been streaming their show for, a few weeks now, and she's already got a title belt. Mary Roman.
Things are going well.
Yeah, KSAT Sports Now comes your way tonight at 7 o'clock. And all right, it's not best streaming show title belt. It's WBC. Is that what it? WBC.
Yes, this is what's on the line between Mario Barrios and Manny Pacquiao. We have a replica WBC welterweight world championship title belt in honor of a big time fight week this upcoming weekend. We have 3 local boxers that will be taking the ring. The biggest fight, of course, Barrios and Pacquiao. I cannot wait for that fight.
Great. Yeah, and you've got one that's coming up tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night, a local pro boxer, Gabriela Tellez. We go one-on-one with her. Great to learn more about her before a big fight that she has in Florida. So lots of local boxing talent, and she's on display in today's show.
And you're going to tell us how we can watch each of these.
Yes, that's key. Because, with streaming, with subscriptions, with pay-per-view, you have to know how to watch all 3 fights. So we'll break it all down for you in KSAT Sports Now.
Yep, and it streams on KSAT Plus. Comes your way right after this newscast at 7 o'clock. Mary isn't sharing the belt. Do you notice that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
Right. I didn't want it. She just got it to herself. That's cool. Whatever. It's her
mine.
size. We'll be right back.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or a favorite hairstylist? SA Picks is back, and we want to know who you think are the top businesses in the city. There are more than 90 categories to vote on. Just scan the QR code on your screen. You can vote for each category once a day, and you have until August 1st to vote. The finalists will be announced on August 19th, and then there'll be another round of voting from August 20th through September 12th to determine the big winners. We'll announce the winners in late September, so cast your vote now for your favorite business to be recognized as the best in San Antonio.
Before we go, we want to take a look at this traffic issue we've been watching really for several hours now. I-35 at Somerset. This is that deadly accident we told you about earlier in the show. All southbound lanes of 35 in this area shut down right now, expected to be for several more hours as crews investigate and clear this scene. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you on the night beat after Press Your Luck.